This uncle has experienced 47 pots of bonchung but still has a burning desire to cook in him. That is to get a university degree by your own efforts. But because they can't go to school to study with other teenagers, so the uncle had to hire a tutor to come home to teach him. The tutor also loudly criticized the ability of this overage student to absorb knowledge. But when he turned around behind him, he saw a lot of barehead men bowing their heads to greet their student. Now, the student's uncle also has deep tattoos on his body and orders his juniors to take their teacher home. The big man Kim Duk-pa proceeded to deal with a traitor in his gang. But this guy immediately grabbed the teacher and took him hostage. Duk-pa immediately asked the light master to release his master and fight hand-to-hand with him. When he saw that there was an injury, the teacher immediately fainted. And the big man who cast Pa also managed to knock down this light master with his inherent advantage. After that, he personally sat and waited outside the emergency room, and ordered the juniors to take good care of their teachers after the shock they had just experienced. The big man also took advantage of the English vocabulary review to prepare for the university entrance exam, with quite basic vocabulary. Duk-pa went back to meet the chairman of the Ming gang to report on the name of Guangsu. Shook hands with another gang to stab us in the back. When the president asked about studying for the exam, then Duk-pa told me that I would try to pass university next year because the teacher said that I was still not qualified enough. After that, the chairman suggested that he give up his dream of a distant university. You prepare to take over our bandage. Casting the Pa out and asking my two juniors to go first, I want to drive around by myself. Feeling sad because he had to give up his dream of lecturing, the uncle immediately stopped the car to take a little wind. Suddenly, Duk-pa saw a trembling boy sitting on the corridor of a pedestrian bridge. A truck was rushing in, and this boy immediately let go of his hand. And the big man still decided to stand still to support this boy. The truck also steered to the side and dodged the two men. But when the big man just sat up, he was hit by another car. After that, the big man also regained consciousness at the hospital and dragged his steps to the mirror. Then I saw the boy I had picked up appearing in the mirror, thinking that I was still in a dream. But I heard the sound of my two close juniors screaming outside. Duk-pa stepped out to greet his junior when he was punched by the boy for a painful punch. Duk-pa fully feels the pain, so he knows that this is real and not a dream. The other junior scolded loudly. It was because of saving you that my big brother had to die. After that, he was dragged by the junior to his own funeral place. Duk-pa immediately smashed and loudly scolded me for daring to hold a funeral for me. I am still alive. The junior immediately scolded this boy for being ungrateful and gave him a fight. But the chairman stopped and allowed the young man to leave. Duk-pa asked me to return the cigarette money to everyone. I will definitely come back. Casting Pa now also realized that his soul had left the body. So he decided to go to the morgue to return this soul to his body. But he found that his body was completely white. The employee thought this was the son of the deceased. So he immediately let this guy touch the cold hand of Mr. Kim Duk-pa, and announced that tomorrow the cremation will be carried out. The young man immediately hugged this body tightly to hope that his soul could return to the body of Australia. The employee also advised this boy not to grieve anymore but to accept his fate. So Casting Pa also goes outside. The guy returned to the bridge and decided to repeat what had happened the night before in hopes of going back in time, but caused a bus to stop suddenly, and the boy continued to return to the hospital immediately afterwards. When I looked in the mirror, I found that I was still in Australia's face. The same leg was bandaged, and the nurse also announced that he had been unconscious for 3 days. After that, he went to his own resting place and his body also became the core. The boy walked out and had to accept that he was away from his body forever. But where is the soul of this more unique twin boy? Because of me, he can't go back. I have to continue living for him anyway. He was in the hospital without seeing any relatives come to visit. As soon as she spoke, a woman with purple hair walked in and let go of her scolding. I owe you mother and daughter. Why do you two always bother me so much? Your mother instigated you to do this to get the president's sympathy. I'm too tired of having to protect your mother and children. After that, I also left, deeply puzzled by the words of this unpleasant aunt, and feeling that this student's life is not easy at all. Casting Pa using the face can also unlock the tablet. After that, I read the diary of this older student. I know more than I hate school and want to disappear from this world. Why is it that he is always asked by the barehead men in the school to steal wine and jewelry at home to give to them? They also asked him to steal cigarettes from the convenience store. Every time they say no, they use force to control them. But one thing that makes me feel more comfortable is being in middle school with my friend Se-kung. But more than anything, he only dared to look at this friend from a distance. The pink Jemmy immediately called him rather than a stalker and Moss to let the whole school know. What makes it more than being shunned and isolated by everyone? They even used it to make beer for them to shoot arrows. And the palace friend also only stood from a distance to watch. When he read the diary, he trembled and was so angry that he destroyed the tablet. Duba realized that his entry into this body was a mission. I will use your body to go to school and deal with all of them. And he will be able to live his own life when he returns. Let's fight together. Dukba went to the house where the older student lived and rang the doorbell of the house. When he was greeted by an aunt, Duba also guessed that she was a maid here. After a few words from this aunt, Duba also realized that the madwoman who appeared in the hospital was the secretary of the president. And Ji then's mother was sleeping on the sofa because she was drunk. The maid was very surprised by her little master's ability to eat unusually healthy. The maid also said that in the past few days, the secretary has been continuously carrying the whole wine cart to the house. She must want to turn my mother into an alcoholic. The president's wife is in the hospital these days. If she dies, I will become the only son of the president. That secretary is preventing my mother from becoming the legal wife of the president of the construction company. Okay. Dukba now also realizes that he is the son of the chairman of a leading construction corporation in the country. Duba went back to Ji's room and felt that this long hair was too entangled, so he decided to shave his head. But the staff advised not to do so because it would be shunned by teachers and friends. And advised the guy on a crab hairstyle. When she cleaned her hair neatly, she also went to choose clothes to prepare to go back to school. Dukba went to the bookstore to buy books for the new school year but did not know which type of book to buy. Then he squeezed into a young man. This guy was very surprised when he saw Dukba, so he immediately started a conversation to see if he recognized him. Dukba also asked this guy to choose books and other subjects to help him. After that, the father also used the tone of an uncle to talk to this boy. When Duba got into the taxi to leave, the boy thought that he had received the wrong person because he had a physique that was too similar to Song Due. Dukba also returned to his gang and watched his friendly juniors pack up their belongings to disperse the gang. When the brace on the leg has been removed, the triple cast also rushes into training to improve the health of this body. The next day, Dukba also took a car to go to school. When the driver asked if he didn't come down here like usual anymore, the boy asked that from now on, just drive me straight to the school gate. Now I found out that I had made a nameplate called Kim Cast 3. Later, when he was reminded by the supervisor for not wearing a nameplate, the boy clearly and loudly apologized. So the superintendent also allowed this polite student to enter the school. And the barehead Hong Jimin continued to stand outside to be punished. Dukba walked into the classroom but didn't know where he was sitting, so he immediately asked a group of girls in the class. It is known that the seat has not been specifically assigned. This group of female friends was also extremely curious about where this handsome guy came from. But looking familiar, the friend was surprised when he saw the appearance of the boy he met yesterday at the bookstore. The teacher began to count the number of students in the class. The whole class was very surprised that the handsome guy was Song Ji-hyun. Was he the one who was shunned by the whole school? He always lowered his face and let his hair cover his face, but a haircut would look completely different. The students in the class begin to be confused when they have to go to middle school with Ji-hyun and Se-gong and Hong Jimin for another year. When the teacher was out, the Hong Jimin started coming to find a story because Ji-hyun had ignored his messages during the break. Dupa looked at the nameplate and recognized the bear's head, so he said, "I really want to see you." The bears immediately led the incense to the back of the school to deal with it, and the confident expression of the incense made Hong Jimin's eyes widen immensely. Dupa asked them to rush up, and then he slapped a rather weak guy but couldn't knock down the good fat guy and was crushed to the ground. This guy began to control the incense so that the Hong Jimin would take action, and he was also confident that he was the deputy of the illustrious Sung Jang Bang, so he would be able to handle it. But this body reacted too slowly, so it received a kick from the Hong Jimin and fell to the ground, and then they also left. Dupa dreamed that he was talking to Ji-hyun's spirit, and Ji-hyun asked him not to do anything to my body. Once his soul leaves my body, it'll soon be gone. But he promises to teach that Hong Jimin a lesson for bullying him. I was beaten because I wasn't used to this body. I will maintain my grades so that you can pass college. I will also make friends to help you and protect your mother. But Ji-hyun said he wouldn't change anything when the uncle continued to assert his confidence. The schoolboy Ji-hyun disappeared. The carriage woke up the dupa and asked the boy to go to the school's infirmary. But the dupa refused. When he heard that if he returned to class in this form, he would be shunned, so he agreed to go to the infirmary. Noticing that the doctor had gone somewhere, the carriage proceeded to disinfect the wound for the incense. And the carriage now also asked why he pretended not to know me when he was in the bookstore. You and I are best friends, Dupa now realizes that this is the guy that Ji-hyun wrote in his diary. But he didn't say that he was this guy's best friend, and he immediately told me that he had a head injury and had lost his memory. Hoping that our best friendship would continue. The carriage laughed and said that we are not friends, you have blackmailed me. I came that day and threatened to expose my true nature to everyone. I don't understand what you think my true nature is. But you're the one who has been following me for 2 years. Don't use your memory loss to avoid everything. His appearance was very similar to Ji-hyun's, but his gait, smile, and eyes were completely different. He wasn't Song Ji-hyun, was he? Dupa also felt that this name was a rather dangerous person. The boy affirmed that human personality can change when encountering big things in life. We are senior students, so we should worry about studying. We have to go to university to live like a true human being. Hong Jimin and his juniors went to fight PR and were very curious. I don't know what the other name is, eating the wrong thing during the summer vacation and talking too loudly. It even hit one of us. Dupa returns to the classroom, but the carriage announces that Jimin has applied to transfer to another class. And Dupa returns to his seat and starts talking to befriend the 3 girls sitting next to him. When school was over, the incense stood and waited and invited the 3 girls in the class to get on the bus. All 3 girls were very excited to step into a luxurious car. After that, the incense was taken to a restaurant, and the boy also ordered all the dishes on a menu page when the 3 girls were eating the food. Then the dupa immediately used his credit card without his limit to pay. The next day, the boy also brought a lot of pens to class and performed, making these 3 girls extremely excited. The Bao car went to start a conversation, and these 3 female friends said that Ji-hyun took us out to eat yesterday. When the 3 of us were about to take a taxi home, Ji-hyun asked to take us back so we could rest assured he was too mature and extremely enlightened. The Bao carriage was even more skeptical when it heard it. Shortly after entering the gymnastics class, the incense also successfully launched through the obstacle course and won the perfect score, making the gym teacher very surprised by the spectacular change of the student Ji-hyun. The boy also used words full of herbs to win the heart of the gym teacher. And the carriage still looked at the incense with skeptical eyes, and when the boy walked outside, he saw the secretary entering the school. So I immediately ran and followed her to the teacher's room. The secretary announced that I came here to make paperwork for Ji-hyun to study abroad. But why have you spent so much money lately? Dupa told her how much money she had already taken from the chairman as his mistress, and that she had paid attention to the few pennies I had spent. She immediately turned off the incense and called the boy unthankful. Dupa then asked if she knew that the president's wife was dying. Are you afraid that my mother will take the position of the president's legal wife that you are so eager for? After all, I am the chairman's son. Do you want me to hold a press conference to announce this? I was the one who decided where I would stay, not you. If you go to school again, you will also be shattered like these glasses. The secretary returned to the car and became angry when she was preemptively beaten by a boy with an unclean nose. The sushi boy also promised to send the boys to deal with him for her. Dupa returned to the evening self-study period and saw the palace sitting next to him. Then, when the Dupa was having trouble solving a math problem, then the Bao snatched and instructed his friend how to solve this problem. Then whispered in his ear and asked what his real name was. The boy immediately affirmed that it was more finished. Now, a friend asks for nothing more than to go to career counseling. So the incense immediately left and felt very curious why the palace was so persistent, while no one cares about the boy more than anything. The teacher at this time announced that if she maintains her current good grades, she can pass Seoul University. But remember to take the time to think about the profession you want to study the most. My future depends on this decision. Dupa comes home and doesn't know what his future dreams are more than what. So I don't know which major to choose appropriately. Do I have enough strength to help him pass the university? Dupa immediately remembered the saying that he had not changed anything, but that Joseph Sol had said, so it feels very wild. Dupa begins to study but encounters a difficult math problem. So I decided to take a picture again to ask the palace to help me. This friend also solved the problem on paper, then sent the results back to Dupa. Xie Gong lay down on the bed and recalled the memory of the night before. At that time, Gimor asked me to do something to help him. Otherwise, he will reveal his true nature to everyone. Gong woke up and felt extremely worried. Dupa went to the gym to practice boxing to regain his agility. Later, while sitting in the hot pool, two barehead men also jumped in. Dupa immediately called a name to teach. After that, he squeezed his young bird tightly and introduced me as the deputy of the state of Zhaosung. We are the only clan in this place. Why is there also our capital state? If you want to live in this profession for a long time, you must know the code of conduct when encroaching on other people's territory. Do you understand? After that, the incense gave these two guys some money to spend. These two men also bowed their heads to see off the incense. Now, the Toe Juniors who had just joined the guild also came. These two men report back to the elder Jiangsu. There was a boy who identified himself as a Dupa and was very screaming. Jiangsu also confirmed that the Dupa was dead. So just let the other boy go for the time being. Hong Yamin also saw a person walking very much like Song Jihyun. When Dupa came home, his friend was also waiting. Gong said that I came here to be a tutor to help him pass the upcoming mock exam. Now Jihyun's mother is in a state of drunkenness and loss of consciousness. So the incense also led her upstairs to the room. Gong also took the opportunity to search every corner of Jihyun's room. Then the incense also appeared and asked, "Do you think I locked up Song Jihyun somewhere? Why are you obsessed with who I was in the past?" She told me that I had something to tell Jihyun in the past, not him in the present. "Did you kill Song Jihyun already?" Dupa immediately grabbed the bow and asked, "What did you do to Jihyun that day?" "He danced after meeting him." Gong immediately asked about Jihyun's condition, but at this moment, Jihyun's mother was screaming, because she was not allowed by the maid to drink. Dupa ran out and was given a slap by her. The mother continued to go to the fields because she wanted to drink wine to forget everything. Dupa immediately hugged her in his arms to comfort her. But Jihyun's mother scolded loudly, "If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have to live like this. If it weren't for you, I would be a successful actor and live happily ever after." And the incense still uses her composure to comfort her mother, and led her up to the room to rest. Then when the incense was about to see off his friend, then she immediately grabbed the hair of her mother that had fallen on Jihyun's coat. After that, the incense invited the palace to go to the library. Gong immediately asked why he didn't ignore the bullies, and put Jihyun's mother aside. Dupa said that if I don't do anything, the bad guys will run rampant more and more. The world is going to get bad. When he leaves and becomes a father, he will definitely want to leave a beautiful world for his children. After that, the two went to listen to music together. At this time, the palace constantly received calls from his father. When he walked home, he picked up his father's phone and told him that he was at a friend's house. "I will quickly go home before the hour under the command of my life." After that, the palace continued to remind about the question that had not yet been answered. Is Jihyun dead? Dupa immediately asked the palace to store his hair carefully, because just now, the guy saw Gong picking up more of his hair sample for comparison. "You can conduct an inspection if necessary. You should stop. Don't be curious about me anymore, because I have a lot of work to do." Kung went home in a very panicked mood. When I entered the house, I saw my father's uncomfortable face. The father announced that I had installed a location application on my child's phone. After that, he asked the friend his son had just met. The palace immediately told him that his name was Song Jihyun and he was very good at studying. The father immediately reminded him that he was the son of a prosecutor, so he had to know how to choose his friends to play. "Don't lie to me again." And since childhood, Kung has been strictly educated by this difficult father, including the use of force and many harsh words. The next day, the father went to school when he was stopped by Hong Jaemin and his juniors to make a conversation. The junior announced that he would make the boy remember who he was, and show the three of them a video. At that time, they were constantly bullying and pouring milk on Jihyun's body. When he watched the video, he immediately bent his phone because he was too angry. Jaemin continued to look for things when he challenged him. Dukba suggested that these guys attack him first because he didn't want to beat children. After that, he used his head to give Jaemin a mattress. But he counterattacked with a slap. Duba immediately took off the student's shirt to comfortably fight and announce, "I fell and injured my head, so I'm no longer the Jihyun of yesteryear." After that, the leader took a shot and took turns to wipe out each junior. Then he knocked down the big fat guy. Finally, he turned around and hooked Jaemin's volley. Casting the father also announced that I am the deputy of the state of Zhaoseng. At this time, the homeroom lady also asked to talk to the palace privately. Her grandmother said that it seems that Jihyun has been bullied by Jaemin during the past 2 years of school. He should tell the palace to stop him every time he sees Jihyun being bullied. After all, I'm the president of the student council. As soon as he finished speaking, he saw that Jihyun was about to punch the student Jaemin. Her grandmother immediately ran downstairs and yelled at the barehead students, because they got together to bully Jihyun. Dukba also told these friends to come to find trouble, so I had to defend myself. So her grandmother immediately asked everyone to go to the counseling room immediately and led the student Jihyun to the teacher's room. Her grandmother announced that she knew that she had been bullied for the past 2 years. Let Jaemin and his friends let the school violence committee deal with it. According to Jaemin's records, she could be forced to drop out of school or transfer to another school. You should talk to your parents because they have to be present at the disciplinary hearing. The father continued to look for Jaemin and saw that they were robbing the 2 underclassmen. So the boy immediately snatched the money back and returned it to the victim. When he saw that they still didn't let go, he slammed the silver-haired man with 1 shot and asked Jaemin's name to wait for adulthood and then smoke. After that, he ordered the juniors to line up and squat on the ground. And I will report this money robbery to the disciplinary committee. But the 2 victim students were very afraid of their authority, so they said that they voluntarily handed over the money. So you don't need to tell the disciplinary committee anymore. I will keep you by my side and continue to beat you. Jaemin's name immediately went up the river and was instantly neutralized by the triple casting. The juniors felt nervous, so they also squatted down to queue up seriously. Jaemin sees a birthmark on his back, so he insists that this is something else. You learn to fight from the triple casting needle of the band. What is better than the failure of the old days? Casting 3 asks them not to skip school if they don't want to be turned into a dartboard. Delete all my videos or I'll kill you. Cast my father home and write down the plans that must be completed with what is Moray's life. The first is absolutely not to be bullied at school. The second is to make friends with people. The third is to have a happy family and protect my mother. The ultimate goal is to go to university. It is also what gives casting 3 the most headaches. And there are only 7 days left until the day of the trial exam. The next day, Jaemin led 2 juniors into the classroom in the middle of class. At the end of the lesson, the 3 casters called Jaemin's name to teach, because he made him unable to concentrate on his studies, making the rest of the students extremely surprised. When they were confiscating cigarettes from the underclassmen, then Casting Ba immediately took a bucket and destroyed the medicine package. After that, he asks Jaemin not to bully others anymore. And I suggest that no one can skip school tomorrow. The juniors were extremely hot and asked the big man to find a way to respond. But Jaemin's name is also the same path, because it seems like Jihyun is familiar with the gang leader. Segung holds the 2 hair samples he took from Jihyun's mother and daughter, and decided to send it for a DNA test. Se-gong Tang asked his friend Jihyun to provide him with his household registration and a copy of his ID card to make a blood test record. Then he asked Jaemin to go out and talk to him and ask him, "How did Se-gong and I get to know each other? This guy told you to keep following the palace and calling the student council president, just like those girls. That's why I called you the one who followed him. Didn't you also like that palace very much?" He was wealthy and had a father who was a prosecutor, and his mother was the director of a shopping mall. Sheng also reported to the committee when he saw him being bullied. And at that time, he also admitted to the teacher that it was not us who beat him. He always covered his face with his hair and finally walked like a tickle. So it's true that no one wants to play with you. Even if you disappear, no one will notice. Casting Ba nodded and stood up, then kicked a blow that made the gamin fall and then walked away. Casting 3 about the classroom and wondering about the name for the mysterious palace. Is he a real gentle guy? Why would he show everyone his true nature? After that, Casting Ba also rushed to take the math test. But when I searched for the answer, I was extremely desperate and didn't know how to improve my academic performance. So I was not interested in singing karaoke with my 3 classmates, so I was very surprised to see the test. Dukba also said that every day I study from 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. But why are the results still on the spot? The boy immediately used all kinds of means to beg Se-kung to teach him math. 3 male students from middle school walked in and suggested to form a group of 4 people to study together in the evening self-study class. Duba realized that these 3 children were trying to learn from the head of the whole school, so he immediately asked to join and be the leader of the group. Se-kung also said that if there was anything more, I would join the group, so the leader immediately withdrew the invitation. The 3rd caster then said to Shichuan, I had no intention of playing and eating your cards like those guys. You'll do whatever you want to let me learn. Casting the father deliberately entered the toilet to approach the 3 boys just now, when the leader is more sarcastic than a stalker. Then the boy grabbed the ball and challenged the 3 of them to play a game of basketball. I accept all 3 of you, whoever wins 5 points first wins. If you win, I will persuade you to set up a study group with you. If it's the other way around, he'll take this ball. Then she noticed that the students in the school were running out in droves. The boy also ran out to watch the challenge match and received a phone notification. The DNA test results of Jim Orr and his mother are completely identical. Now, the Jim Orr student is also constantly the scorer in a skillful way, and is the winner of China. Dukba immediately said to the leader he had never seen it, but he followed everyone. And calling me a stalker, that's an act of violence. Everyone here also stopped ridiculing others behind their backs. If you play with fire, you will get burned one day. This ball is mine now. Shigung also said that I would study with him, but you have to keep your promise to do whatever I want. Cecil led her to a self-study room and announced that I had used your card to rent all of this place, because I hate the sound of pulling chairs. After that, instruct the boy on the appropriate study schedule, to be able to quickly improve your math skills. After a while, the father also nodded because he was too sleepy, so Se-gong immediately snapped a hard one to wake up his friend. After that, the 2 went out to drink water to stay awake. When Casting 3 asked why the school violence committee was so useless, and Shek-hun said, because it was held inside the school, it should be governed by the power of parents and the honor of the school. Only when the bully is killed can the victim escape. Since most of the victims leave school and hide from the world to live, even if they have a substance, it will not change anything. Dukba was very surprised by this idea of the palace. The next day, the boys from the yard came and expressed their admiration when it was more than 1 against the best basketball player in the whole school. Dukba immediately invited everyone to form a football team, because my ability to kick the ball is even better than basketball. Now the teacher went again and announced the results of the month's academic scores. And casting a father becomes an academic failure again. And far from the transcript of the best male student in school for Zikung. Seth also asked his friend to try harder. The 2 of them went to the convenience store, and the 3 of them took a bottle of wine as a habit. So I immediately licked it and said that I took it by mistake. Seth saw a pineapple cake and remembered it. In the past, the housekeeper said that he was allergic to pineapples. Every time he eats a small bite, his throat is swollen and very dangerous to his life. Suddenly, Casting Ba snatched the cake and bought it. Sugong was hesitant, but then pushed the cake towards his friend, to check if this is really better. But when I cast my father and scooped up the pineapple topping, then she gave her teeth a bitterness, so she stopped it. Then he put a packet of jelly in his mouth and it was pineapple jelly, so Duba immediately had a sharp pain in his neck and fell to the ground. Segung sat next to his friend in the emergency room and felt very remorseful. After that, it was also announced that Dithen was allergic to pineapple. The housekeeper of his house said that he could die if he ate pineapple, if you are a debater and have real amnesia. But why didn't anyone tell him about this? Because they all think you're a debater, although the results of the DNA test concluded that he was beta superior. But he really wasn't. That day Dithen came to his house and begged me to do something for him. But I refused and felt worried for him days later. Ever since he met him again at the bookstore, he was a completely different person. I was terrified that Dithen would die for me, because it is also a meaningful way for me to protect myself. Dukba sat up and said, I guarantee you'll see Dithen again to say sorry. From here until then, you have to help me so that he can come back safely and live a decent life. Help me go to college so that I can live like a normal person. Exegong didn't believe it, but then agreed to shake hands so that he could bring Dithen back. The palace prepares for casting 3 a reasonable timetable, and always accompany him to mentor and help him do exactly according to the set timetable. And casting 3 also studied whenever and wherever possible. Rongshu is now holding pictures of his mother in his hand. Rongshu also reported that her son was in high school, but his name was Song Dim Or, and my juniors are leaving the gang one after another. I wish my son was here and he would solve these things. When I arrived, Rongshu and the name Rongshu were preparing to carry out a plan. The name Rongshu went into the supermarket to buy food. Now Xie Ming and his accomplices are also here. They talked about the fact that they had learned martial arts from the big man who cast 3. Rongshu heard it, so he immediately asked. Xie Ming also told about a kid who said that he learned martial arts from the 3 casting needles of the fig band. The big brother said that the ribbon is no longer there and the 3rd casting needle is also piled up. He was so compassionate that he could just inadvertently teach that kid. After that, a 7-seater car also drove over. At this time, a junior in the gang was arrested by the police. So Rongshu had to stay to settle it. The big man immediately called Xie Ming back and asked him to get in the car and go on a mission to make money. After that, the car was also driven away. Casting 3 leads to move the bow to his home. Then I saw a car without a license plate parked in front of the house. And Daithan's mother was being carried into the car by the bears. Dukba immediately ran over to fight a bastard. Xie Ming was also informed by a guy that we were kidnapping her. The palace rushed over to stop a guy from getting into the car. Xie Ming didn't dare to close the car door, so he immediately rushed out to run away. One of them prevented the palace from saving this mother. After defeating one of them, Duba also ran to help the palace. When the guys pulled out, the police car came again. So they immediately ran away. Both boys took Ditan's mother to the hospital. The 2 policemen came and asked to meet more. Dukba also used an extremely mature look to talk to the 2 young brothers. After that, the 3 of them went out to talk. When the police asked if his mother had been aggressive with anyone lately, Dukba immediately thought of the secretary of Limai Palace. So he decided to handle this himself and tell the police. This is not a kidnapping. It was just a scuffle because those guys kept parking in front of my house. My mother fainted, so we let her rest in the car for a while. Can you withdraw the original denunciation? The police also thought that the neighbor had seen the wrong thing, so they called the police. We will reinvestigate to see if the indictment should be withdrawn. Xa Kung was very upset when the friend withdrew the complaint against the other group. At this time, the news reported that the chairman of the construction company was okay. Won a contract to build a shopping mall in Saudi Arabia. Dukba thought that if he confessed to the other secretary, the police would find out. And what will the whole world know more than the illegitimate son of the deceased president? So he immediately told the palace, "What is not more beneficial to me, I will not do it. I will punish them with my own hands." Now Xie Gong began to worry about the wound on his face. The prosecutor's father heard his son say that he was beaten by strangers while walking on the street. So he immediately asked his son to lead him to the scene where he was assaulted. But he found that there were no footprints on the ground. There was also no sign of a scuffle. Xa Gong immediately bit his nails repeatedly due to panic. After that, I felt dizzy and fainted on the ground. The father took his son to the hospital. When the father went out, Xa Gong dared to open his eyes. The wife called and asked the father not to force the child too much. The father of the palace explained that he did this to want his son to become a good person in the future. But the wife said he was already very good. I will return home immediately after the business trip, don't torture me anymore. Dukba went to the police station to write a letter to withdraw the denunciation. The father also said that the boys had destroyed all the cameras in front of his house. Remember to tell your parents to fix the security camera. Casting father realized that they had planned very carefully. Let's start confronting that secretary. Cast 3 phones to the construction company, okay, but got a response. There is no one here. At this time, the mother stepped down solemnly, so she could feel it. Dee then must have lived a very hard life. The boy asked for the secretary's phone number, but the maid said he didn't have it. My salary was transferred under the name of the company, okay. The driver also said that there was none, because she will take the initiative to call to inquire about the health of him and the hostess. Dukba immediately took the driver's phone and called back, but the phone number did not exist. The boy also hired more bodyguards to protect the safety in the house, and wondered where they were going to take Daithan's mother after all. At this time, Secretary Lee was also worried about the deputy because she was afraid that the police would grab her neck. But the line told the police to withdraw the denunciation order. I will take responsibility and find a solution. After that, he ordered the junior to get rid of the kid who ran away while he was working. At school, the juniors couldn't call Jamin. A classmate asked the gray-haired man to sort the waste because it was his turn to work. When he saw that this guy was still condescending, he immediately scolded him for being a lazy person, and using a little force to make the classmates very surprised. When asked by friends about the bruises on his face, Duba also showed off. I fought with the boys when I came home from school. I am not good at studying but very good at boxing. After chatting for a while, everyone also held hands and promised to be friends with him from now on. Later, I found out that the palace did not come to class today. Dukba texted and asked, and the palace said that he was in the library. Se-kung also realized that the casting of 3 kept forcing Jaemin to go to school every day, because I want him to graduate from high school properly. And this guy is also researching a book about the similarities between 2 people called Song Chung. The worried Jaemin stood in front of the house where the previous kidnapping occurred, and find an opportunity to ask about the brawl that occurred here. The driver said that nothing happened. I went to cast my father to meet the palace when I went to the library to study. After that, casting 3 found that he had bitten his fingertips until he was bleeding, so he was very worried. As a palace, he immediately fought back and invited his friend to quickly go inside to study. When the 2 took a break, Dukba spoke up to be taught boxing to Se-kung, because I saw that he fought too poorly the day before. Se-kung also enthusiastically followed the instructions from his friend. After that, Se-kung said that his father did not like me to learn boxing, because he doesn't appreciate physical achievement. At this time, the palace guard discovered that the name of Jaemin was lurking, but the palace lady tried to ignore him. Jaemin also walked out and was surprised that this villa was the home of his failed friend Ji-hyun. The 2 also led him to a coffee shop to talk. Casting 3 requests Jaemin go to school tomorrow, don't drop out of school. Jaemin tries to inquire about the brawl that occurred in front of Ji-hyun's house. When he heard that my friend had cancelled the lawsuit, the Jaemin felt relieved. After that, he ate cakes and used water very drunk. When he found out, he had to go hungry for 2 days. Then the father immediately invited him to a hearty meal at his house prepared by the maid. The Jaemin also eats very well. He was also strong enough to ask to sleep here for 1 night because my house was cut off from measles. My father is working in the province and my mother has been away from home for a long time. My sister stayed at the hair salon to stay and learn a trade. When he heard the father say yes, the carriage also asked to sleep. My mother flew home for a day and rented a hotel near the airport. He'll tell my dad that it's okay to sleep there. The prosecutor's father used his relationship to get more of Song Dewey's background. He was a child of a fake beast who had been discarded. The score is not very high. 2 years of studying together. But why are they close to each other now? That evening, Jaemin went down for a drink and asked his landlord to let him stay for a few more days. Obviously, you also beat me like a dog. Let's see if we get along. Duba immediately told me that I didn't film or use you as a dartboard. How could it be a draw? I asked to delete the video but I saw it all over the place. And received a lot of comments, making me continue to make clowns for the whole school. He had never been qualified to be forgiven. He had preserved a person's soul and made him think of the essence. Jaemin didn't understand what the hostess was saying, so he went upstairs. When the Jaemin went out, the palace attendant also came out and said to him. He went to Ji's house to check if the police were watching him. He was very excited when he said that he had cancelled the complaint, because he was the one who kidnapped Ji's mother. That night I saw you rush out of those people's cars, when the Bao is cornering the city. Then Dukpa appeared and asked how to meet them. Afterwards, Jaemin told them to go to the nightclub at the Sin Ho Hotel. I only know that they belong to a new gang called Dong Shui, and Dukpa had met the gang's juniors in the sauna. The next morning we all got into Ji's private car rather than going to school, because Dukpa also wanted Jaemin to graduate from high school to be a decent person. The coin and the name of the coin went to the place that used to be the base of the gang. But at this time, the people of the Ice Guangxu were occupying here. Coin is determined to bring his gang back to the way it used to be. After that, he ordered the junior to go prepare for an important mission. Khan picked up the vocabulary that the big singer Kim Dukpa had learned. So I feel that I miss my big brother very much. Dukpa walked out of school and thought, if I want to catch Lee My Kung's secretary, I need to meet them first. So I immediately informed the carriage that I had something to go, and asked drivers to tighten security at home, then go find a taxi. Suddenly, 2 names appeared from behind and covered the boy's face. Bao Kar walks out of the school. Then he saw that his friend Ji then was being escorted by a group of soldiers into the car and carried away. The Bao Kar picked up Ji's phone and called the police. But I remember the friend who once warned me. If he touches the police, Jitan's life will change completely. And it was not in his favor, so the carriage also hung up. Then he thought of his prosecutor's father. Dukpa was escorted to a warehouse. When he opened his mask, he saw his trusted junior in front of him. The Pope stood up and called his disciples. What's wrong with all this? The colleague at this time also realized. This is the guy whose big brother used his life to save his life. The Dukpa then asked, "Does Zhang Sung know that you are the subordinates of the Limi Palace?" The bears immediately rose to attack. And Dukpa also easily defeated the Toad Juniors. But he couldn't knock down his comrade because he was heavier now than before. So he also fell into the crack and knocked unconscious. The boys who used to be Yi Min's juniors came to find and show Yi Min the message containing the home address of D than that the Dongsu gang had sent. He didn't complete the task, but he also ran away while working. So they told us to come and arrest him. When attacked by these school students, Yi Min also tried to run away and lose his sandals. Sugong sat trembling at the bus stop and didn't know how to save D. At this time, the father texted to announce that he would come to school to pick up his child in 5 minutes. Yi Min immediately ran over and pulled the Bao by the hand to run away. Yi Min hides in a dark corner and hears the juniors. "I want to capture myself and hand it over to the gang to join that gang." Yi Min informed the palace that it seemed like those bastards. "I'm going to kidnap my mother one more time." When I heard the palace tell me, I was already taken away by them. Yi Min said that he could move and was being detained near the Sinho Hotel. Because their base was also there, Yi Min refused to accompany the palace there. Because it was no different from going to charge their lives. Kugong immediately announced that he was going there and said loudly to Yi Min, "After all that D then did to protect him, then he only knew how to think about himself." Yi Min was very upset when he was sent to class again, but then had to continue to run away. The silver-haired man then confronted the palace and asked about Yi Min's whereabouts. But the palace still distracted him to help Yi Min escape. Su Kung sat in a taxi and constantly received messages from his father asking where his son was going. The boy immediately called the housekeeper of the house and asked the driver to dispatch all security guards to protect the house. The prosecutor's father waits in front of the school gate and watched the location to locate his son. Dukba woke up and saw the old junior sitting in front of him. When he heard the announcement that he would take his mother to a mental hospital, then he told him that he didn't have the self-esteem of a member of the gang. "Did you set up your own gang to do low-class games like this? When the 3 casting needles die, you must think that you will be able to overthrow him, right?" He once wrote a piece of paper, promising that he would not forget his father. Maybe it's just a lie, right? Rong Su also sat down and said, "Brother casting father used to be my family, but now I don't serve him anymore." After his father died, all the small gangs gathered to attack the gang. So he was seriously injured and had to be hospitalized. Now we are also looking for his whereabouts. I have to change the name of the gang to my name. The student made a strong 3-form request to disband this gang. Causing the dragon to laugh at this time, he received a phone call from the dragon to inform him. There were a lot of bodyguards who came to the boy's house, so the dragon also ordered to break in tomorrow morning. When he noticed that the student was talking very firmly and bravely, then I remembered that my secretary Li Maikung once told me, I would take anything more than to study abroad because it carries the president's blood anyway. I'm going to send it to a country that has multiple names and is allowed to use guns. Rong Su also realized now that the secretary had looked down on this student too much. The student suggested that they use the girl's way to talk to each other. When I was confident that I would defeat him, the boy said. He once ruptured a ligament in his right leg when he went to collect money with the vendor and had to go to the hospital in the middle of the night. After the surgery, the wound was not properly restored, so he could not stand on one leg. I am a person who knows his weaknesses very well. I could make him never walk again in a single note. Please disband this gang and bring Li Maikung to me. I will help you open an eel shop in the countryside. If he hadn't disbanded sooner, everything would have fallen apart and he would have been left empty-handed. Duba picked up the book from the English and said, he still reads the bad song as a child as a gato. Rong Su immediately remembered the memories he had experienced with his father. So he immediately asked, Who are you? The male boy asked him to think carefully and then walked out proudly. Sei Kung when he arrived at the base of the Rong Su gang. The prosecutor's father also followed right behind. And Siakung also deliberately let his father go to this place to help rescue Ji Hao without calling the police. The last time I came home with bruises on my face was because I was trying to save his mother from the kidnappers. But now Ji Mu is being held by them. When he was dragged home by his father, Siakung continued to speak up to beg. After that, his friend Ji then walked out of the house, so Siakung also returned the phone to his friend, casting the last 3 times to greet the father of the Kung Kui. Suddenly, the prosecutor's father went straight inside. After that, he showed his power card to the dragon and said, "Recently, I was investigating the corruption case of the military construction company, and it was discovered that the gangs were attached to them. If I invite you to the prosecutor's office now because I sent someone to ambush JIS house, then your organization will be destroyed immediately." After the rice bowl, I felt very nervous, so I immediately called the phone and ordered my juniors to help the army immediately. The chief prosecutor walked out and informed the 3. I finished dealing with the group of people in front of his house and took my son home. After that, the dragon's juniors also pulled each other out. When Duk Ba went home, the housekeeper also announced. Kung called to ask for increased security in the house. "You must be so worried about your mother that you asked Siakung to do it, right? You're really a filial child." Secretary A went to see Rong Su to ask why he withdrew his troops without my permission. Rong Su explained that they brought the chief prosecutor to scare me. It is impossible to underestimate the child more than that. Secretary A immediately mentioned the agreement between him and Rong Su when he was in the hospital before. At that time, Rong Su asked the hospital staff to operate on his grandmaster. "My team has broken up, but I will definitely make money to pay for the surgery in the future." But the security guard still dragged the dragon outside. A Secretary Lee immediately approached and asked Rong Su to work for him. "I have already paid all the money for the surgery for his class, so I promise to work for her from now on." At this time, a secretary asked that he just need to get rid of that boy. Rong Su also promised to take care of what else to bring to a country with a lot of accidents. Secretary A threatened that if he did not do his duty, he would hand over all the buildings to someone else to protect. After that, the dragon confided in the dragon for some reason. I couldn't stop that kid from leaving. He knows things that only the 3 casters can know. Rong Chun wondered if it was his father's child. But Rong Su affirmed that he would not hide us if he really had children. "That kid is just a scammer, you, and I will take something more and hand it over to Lumai Palace." Duba returned to his room and thought that he had listened to what he said. After that, he pressed the message to thank the palace for contacting him to strengthen the bodyguards and even brought his father to help him. The next day, Dukba went to the self-study room, but he didn't see the palace appear and still didn't get a response from him. The 2 girls in the class brought water to give to Dukba and asked him if he and Segong seemed to be arguing. "Hopefully the 2 of you will make peace with each other soon." Now the palace has also replied to the message. The boy went to a park to meet his wife when he asked his father why he didn't answer my message. Then the palace announced that I had switched to a 2G phone. I would not go to the self-study room and would not play with you anymore. That night, my father ordered me not to see him again and only to use a brick phone to text and call. Because his mother was an alcoholic and his father abandoned him, my father asked me to find a better friend to play with. Dukba also thanked Kung for not reporting to the police and for taking his father to such a dangerous place to save me. The palace still promised to support him in his studies. The boy took out an old tablet and took the initiative to call Duba to exchange phone numbers. Kung asked his friend to teach him how to ride a bicycle and also teach him how to drink. I also wanted to go on a picnic because my father never allowed me to sleep outside. My dad wanted me to play with the Hun goat because his family was very good and the basketball player had lost to him. The next day, Dukba went into the classroom and saw a pair of goats studying lessons. Dukba also actively participates in playing soccer with other boys in the class. As for Segong, he continues to walk next to the Hun goat to please his father. After that, he saw the old juniors of the goats walking, so he immediately followed and confiscated all their cigarettes. When Dukba asked where the goats were, they said they didn't know and then crawled back to the classroom. Dukba saw that the goat had not yet come to class, so he immediately texted to ask him to go to school immediately if he didn't want to be spanked. At this time, a group of female friends in the class came to invite her father to participate in the class graduation yearbook photo. The next day, the whole class also went to a lakeside park to take a yearbook photo. Dukba also brought a basket of books containing many toys to contribute to the fun. But the group of female friends thought that it was a toy from the time when the clothes were still left, so they immediately ran away to play for others. After that, they all divided into teams to play to guess the singer's name. The beautiful girl in charge of the game constantly mentions the names of songs dating back to ancient times to increase the difficulty. The 3 in a row were also the ones who guessed the name of the singer who performed the songs from that ancient time. When the group of boys took a yearbook photo together, the father was too serious to be commented on by the uncle who took the photo. After that, I don't know how to release my heart properly. Finally, standing in the center position as a genuine gangster. The Bowcart and friends felt that their older friends seemed to have just come down from the mountains to the land. As the female students were very interested in the cool look of the old friend. A classmate also told me that Jaemin was working at a convenience store. He said that he should not let the old juniors know about this. Dukba immediately went to the convenience store to look for Jaemin, and this guy also said, "The Dukal guys in the class are looking for me to hand over to the Jiangsu gang, so how dare I go to school? I heard that the gang was going to rule because I left my position while I was on duty. I'm going to quit school, so don't come here to find me anymore." Casting Ba ordered Jaemin to go to class immediately. "They'll take care of everything for you. Otherwise, you will never be able to work part-time again." At this time, Duba received a phone call from the palace. Sigung stood on the bridge and asked, "Did you feel pain when Jaemin jumped down from here?" Dukba immediately went to the bridge and said to Sigong, "I wanted to jump down the way Jaemin had done before. Can I sleep at your house tonight?" Dukba immediately asked Kung to go and do things that he had never done before. The two of them went to a station and then stepped on a train together. Casting Ba also fries personal bandages into the wound on the boar for the bow. After that, she wanted to go buy food to experience and forgot the 2G phone to stay. Suddenly, Casting 3 saw the name Jiangsu and Zhongshan were also present on this train. The two boys went to a beach and the palace also felt for the first time how salty the seawater was. Then the two of them were also playing happily on the beach and the two juniors also struggled to watch the two free boys happy. When the two young men went to choose clothes, the two gypsies were also curious and did not take their eyes off. After that, he also stood from a distance to observe anything more than practicing the bicycle for the bow and nervously following each movement. After a while, the two boys were able to each run a different car. When the two sat down to eat and drink together, the two gypsies had to stand outside to smoke yogurt. Because you have to watch the right time to bring something more on the plane. The two went to a hotel but were not allowed to rent a room because they were minors. Kung also said that all the motels here have such regulations. Dukba immediately led the palace to an inn and introduced me as a member of the band. But the boss insisted that the gang did not allow minors to interact. Dukba said loudly that he had forgotten who had entrusted this inn to him to manage. Even if the third casting needle has passed away, you must not forget that kindness, right? The fact that you only have one side must not be known, right? When the boss heard it, he also gave the room key to the third caste. When the two barehead boys entered, this boss lamented again. Why did the third casting needle go dirty and let everyone know that I only had one side? Kung was very curious and suspected that his friend's family had gangsters. But my father told me that I used to work here for a while. When the boy listened, he could hear the voice in the next room because the wall was not soundproofed. Dongchan wondered why the boy's way of talking and his eyes were the same as his father's. Or should I go catch him now? Dong Su suggested waiting until late at night. When something better goes out alone, he will grab it. The bronze man also boasted that he could stay awake for a whole week. Immediately afterwards, he wheezed again in front of his seniors. At this time, the palace also told the reason for the bleeding on his boredom. I hit my head against the wall because I couldn't stand my father anymore. Every time I see my father, I have trouble breathing. Recently, I often fainted. Since I was a child, I was educated very strictly by my father, which made my psychology quite unstable. I thought I might meet him at school because my dad couldn't know, but the Jihin took a picture and sent it to my father. I even found out that my dad had set up a secret camera in my room, and showed the pictures that the Jihin had taken. I tried to be a gentle and obedient child, but he still wanted to control my every breath. I couldn't stand it and banged my head against the wall. Then I went to the bridge and had the thought of escaping my father. Dukpa immediately promised that I would help you. His father didn't know he was wrong, because he always thought it was the only way to raise an adult child. Tell him the best way to teach your child. Late that night, casting Pa to write more words, helping the palace escape from the control of his father, and the goals that will be accomplished for Jihin. Dupa took the brick phone and went out. When he opened the source, Se Gong's father called again. The father asked to call the palace to wake up. Tell him to come here and beg me to forgive him. Dukpa told him that he couldn't let the palace sleep peacefully for a day later. I called to let him know he was safe. Don't you see that your son is very afraid of you? When the palace is ready, talk to him. The father immediately smashed the phone in anger. The next morning, Casting Pa called to ask Dongkan to go to the second floor. He immediately informed the Dongsu. The big brother wants us to go to the second floor. After that, I realized that the big man had been dead for a long time. So he immediately rushed to meet the Jihan student and asked, "How do you know Dongkan's phone number?" Dongsu insists the boy is a scammer, pretending to be the son of the casting brother. "Well, hand you over to the palace right away." Dukpa immediately told Dongkan's biography to gain trust. His father was a farmer. He bought 1,975 square meters of land for cultivation. But he died of a terminal illness last year. His disabled sister was also moved in. Loop Bridge Rehabilitation Center for care. I paid last month's expenses to your brother under the name of Kim Dukpa. Dongsu and I met when he was 19 years old. At that time, he had just come out of the orphanage and was deceived out of all his money. I treated him to a plate of sweet and sour pork that time. Dongkan couldn't control his emotions, so he immediately concluded, "You are the son of the golden man. He hid his existence from us for 20 years. You can call us uncles. Don't talk against us anymore." At this time, the private driver also came. It is recommended to cast the name of the bear's head immediately. The driver brought the uniform to his boss, and the bow can be worn to school. After that, the three of them also sat down to eat together. When the palace came, Dukpa also introduced them as his uncle. When I was about to get into the car, I was cast by a man and two uncles. "Don't track down the boy you sent to my house during the kidnapping." Dongkan also promised to call and ask the boys to stop searching when sitting in the car to go to school. Then Casting Pa also holds his hand to rest his legs in peace. But when he arrived at school, he continued to panic, because he was afraid that his father would appear. Dukpa went into the classroom when he heard a group of disciples discussing to find the goat and hand it over to the gangster's comrade. Casting the interlock Pa for Dongkan and ask, "Why haven't you called them yet?" Dongkan also ordered over the phone not to search for the other goat anymore. At this time, the homeroom teacher asked to talk privately with D then and Xe Gong. When the two went to the room, they saw that the prosecutor's father had been sitting late here. He grabbed the mold and claimed that he had ruined my child. Her grandmother also tried to discourage and affirmed that the two were very close. "We will investigate everything clearly." The father asked to talk to his son privately, and will discuss the punishment for the two more later. Xie Gong immediately collapsed in panic. The aunt went out and asked Dupa, "Did you invite the goat to the motel and drink wine?" But the guy said we were just going to see the sea. The father said that he had already called the school violence committee. "I just declare that I was moved rather than forced." Xe Gong immediately fell to the ground and fainted, and was taken to the school's medical room. Dukpa asked to talk to his father a little privately. "If you don't agree, I'll tell you here. To move the bow can be heard." Dukpa told his father, "I think you're an extremely perfectionist parent." He imposed his own strict standards on his son. The father affirmed that what he did only wanted his son become an upright and useful person for society. But Du Pa Bao Di was more about to jump off the bridge. After banging your head against the wall, the father immediately said that the palace could not succeed. And it was the violent behavior that turned him into a gangster. If you use the wrong words, it can also seriously hurt others, and leaves a scar that never heals. If you want to save your son, go for treatment first. If you consider yourself an adult, then you should help your son grow up and don't urinate anymore. Please go home and let the palace go to school normally. When the casting pa had left, the father immediately called the teacher to understand. Xe Gong woke up, and it was very surprising that my father accepted to leave so easily. Why did everything become simpler and clearer when you got involved? Dukpa advised the palace to be strong in facing his father. Your words will have a stronger influence than mine. After that, he invited his friend to go out to eat together. The name Ji-hun saw the palace eating with the boy Ji-hun, so he immediately came to sit next to the palace. But the palace told me that he had taken a picture and gave it to my father. Ever since he studied with me, he has always gotten the highest grades. So why did you do that to me? If you're done eating, you'll disappear for me. Dukpa also spoke out in praise. But I suggest that you practice your style a little more. At the end of the self-study class, the palace left a note with the content. Thank you for always encouraging me. I'm going home today to talk to my dad. Jimin walked when he was stopped by a group of old juniors. They said that it was Song Ji-hun who called Mr. Zhongchong to warn us not to touch him. We gave up our part-time jobs to arrest him. But now they told him to stop. We will still force you to come in front of the big brother to apply for a job. Jimin said that I didn't want to use my fist for the pastime, because I still consider you as friends. After that, Song came to fight with them. The next morning, Ji-hun's mother stirred up the house again to take medicine. The maid told the secretary not to bring any more medicine, casting Pa to reassure and promise. I'm gonna buy medicine for you, Mom, go back to your room. Dukpa took 2 vials of medicine and went to the pharmacy. Then the pharmacist said, these 2 drugs are very toxic and are not used in water, because there are many side effects and irritation too. This flow is also very high. If you use it regularly, you will no longer be able to live normally. He even suffers from mental illness and is very prone to panic. Casting Pa immediately called Jisoo and said that Lee Mi-kung gave my mother a psychotic drug. She used my mother's name to buy drugs to avoid being investigated. Find Lee Mi-kung and bring her to me. The gang members were very hesitant to know what to do with a Lee Mi-kung, because all the buildings we are managing are hers. If we rebel against her, our organization will also disintegrate. At this time, a Lee Mi-kung automatically came and asked if he had caught anything more. But Jisoo does not allow us to be safe, and announced that the Jisoo gang would go bankrupt, since the big man was stabbed and seriously injured by another gang. Then she helped us. Working with her made me forget one thing that I hated so much. It is touching children and families. As an uncle, I have to protect my grandson. Come find my nephew and get down on your knees and apologize to him. I gave you 3 days to do it. Secretary A immediately waved his hand and was dragged outside by his juniors. Then I heard some young men mentioning the Song Ji-hun. And knowing that these guys are classmates of Ji-hun, so I immediately came forward to call on them to do something for me. The next day, when he went to school, he received shunning from his friends. A few days ago, you drove the bow carriage to the faint country, and you even threatened Ji-hun. He led the carriage into the motel and forced him to drink. Someone has filed a complaint with the school violence committee. A female student burst into tears because she collapsed badly. Now, the prosecutor also presented to the committee. But Ji-hun invited my son to sleep overnight outside. She also bullies other classmates and hangs out with gangsters. If the school does not handle it properly, I will report it to the police. Cast 3 phones for the bow car but could not be contacted. At this moment, Dukba received a phone call from the police. Middle school boys sued him for school violence. At this time, the lady of the palace was also outside the police station. Dukba felt that this was too much for a high school student to bear. I'm too permissive, you have to strike a stronger blow. The 4 barehead students walked out of the police station and reported back to the secretary. We filed a complaint and removed all videos from social media sites. The lady immediately took out a pile of money to reward these 4 children. We were also worried that our family would sue us and asked the secretary to help us find a lawyer. She also promised that if you send them to a reformatory, I will take care of you for the rest of my life. Dukpa now received a phone call from the secretary of the palace to meet in person. She told me that you had already tamed the people in the gang. But now I don't need your uncles anymore. I'm going to handle things my own way. When Dukpa asked about how she had brought the poison to her mother, then she pretended to be surprised and insisted that all prescriptions were in your mother's name. Then he showed off the 2 bodyguards who were following him to protect him, and affirmed that you won't be able to do anything to me. Now he only had 2 options. One is to study abroad, the other is to go to a prison for minors. Dukpa also mentioned the plot that this woman was cherishing. You want to send my mother to a mental institution, then waiting for my father's current wife to die to become the president's next wife. You should remember that the higher you climb, the more painful it will be to fall. The secretary promised to make his mother and daughter never see each other again, and then walked away. Won't prepare to go to school. When he went out, he saw the goat Hun standing ready to wait for him. When he arrived at school, the goat Hun also announced, From now on, he will be in the same class as me. He asked not to have to study with the bully anymore. Because Song Due is more has been summoned by the school violence committee. When I entered the classroom, I couldn't see where the 4 barehead bears had accused me anymore. The guy called the palace, but he couldn't get in touch, and being given alienated eyes by friends. But the 3 friends sitting next to him still ran over and chatted happily with Casting Pa, and promised to replace the palace with him to study math and science. Suddenly, the palace with the appearance of warmth came in and announced. I explained to the principal about the misunderstanding that Goat Hun had been violent to me. So friends no longer discriminate against the goat friend. Sekung also told Dukpa, I will find a way for my father to sign a memorandum requesting the cancellation of his summons to the school committee. The Min goat walked in and reminded him that the Hun goat had been beaten by the barehead men in the class. Report the act of violence to the police. So the 2 boys immediately cleared their throats and pulled out to talk privately. Sekung was very upset when the other guys used to bully Goat Hun, but now they went to denounce him. Dukpa also said that it was Ali Mikung who was behind this to send me to prison. The guy immediately asked the whereabouts of the other group of school bears. Then the goats said that they were definitely in the Pa shop. Dukpa immediately came to meet these people and said, You guys are just being good for others. If you withdraw the complaint now, I won't make a big deal. You need a high school diploma to have a decent life. This is your last chance. If not, I will call the police so they can investigate who is the real school violence. When the Casting Pa had left, the silver-haired man was still determined not to quit the complaint, because he gave us a lot of money. They took the initiative to pull the goats to our side to denounce the goats, because the only person who has seen us bullied the goats is the goats. It was necessary to pull him to the side to silence him. They came to meet and called on the Min goats to come back to the same side to denounce the Hun goats, because the other woman had promised to hire a lawyer and would find us a job after graduation. They also said that they would use a paper to diagnose their injuries when they fought with the goats last time. As proof of the accusation, he was physically impacted by the goat. When the goats were angry, they kept telling them about the things that the goats had treated the goats. Didn't you catch the goat to steal the gems at his house? Let us sell it for that money. You even locked up the goat and threw milk at him. So don't think about witnessing or anything like that now, because if the Goat Hun denounces us, there will also be your name in it. We have to denounce it before it does it to us. When he came to see him, the policeman told them that there were witnesses who saw him beating them. But Casting 3 confirmed that I was the victim. Because the Hun goats were bullied by them when they first entered high school, the guy tried to take out the videos to prove it, but they were all deleted. So the policeman also suggested that he leave and bring any evidence he has next time. If there are witnesses, the better. Dukba immediately assisted the 2 uncles who had just married him and said, Li Mai Kung sent some middle school students to denounce me of violence to send me to a reformatory camp. But I was the one who was beaten by them. The 2 uncles were extremely frustrated and were going to give the other boys a fight. But casting 3 treasures to do so is no different from pouring oil on the fire. Because I've also been accused of being on the school's violence committee. If the other kids don't withdraw the lawsuit, then we have to catch her to force her to withdraw the lawsuit. Also to protect my mother's safety, the other secretary always wanted to win the heart of President B. I'm going to bring her in front of the chairman and take off her mask. Li Mai Gong will definitely be kicked out and her hands washed. Find her to help me, since I have to focus on the midterm exams. This test will determine whether or not I can get into college, whether I have to go to a reformatory camp or go to university. Like the 2 of you. Dong Chuan also nodded and promised not to disappoint the big brother. The big brother came back carefully. Zay Min went home when his sister said, I've quit my job at the hair salon, but am going to move out of this slum. After that, he gave his brother some savings that his father had set up. Zemin remembered the scare of the bearheads, about being sent to a reformatory camp if Ji-hun asks for an investigation. Zay Min was confused about whether he should go to the meeting to beg Ji-hun not to reveal his name. Then I looked at the savings book that my father had set up for me. After that, this guy peeked out in the library and kept turning his gaze towards his friend Ji-hun. But because he kept seeing Ji-hun clinging to the palace, he also left. When he walked out, he said, The order to summon him to the school committee has been cancelled. Since I got my parents' signatures, I'll also find a way to keep you from going to a reformatory. Since you're my only friend, Casting 3 immediately asked the palace to say this when Jihyun returned. Let's say we are friends. In the evening, when I sit alone in the self-study room, then Duba received a message from a group of school bears announcing, "We will not give up and will sue you to the end." At this time, Duba received a phone call from his uncle. When the boy went to see him, he told him the news. "I found the big guy. He had heard of his son Casting 3, so he'll come back here soon to see you." The dragon also said that no trace has been found of the President B and the Secretary Lee my palace. Well, find the secretary soon, so you just try to do well in the exam. The next day, it was all due to the answers to the midterm exams. Friends were very surprised when his friend Jihyun answered very difficult questions correctly. Se-kung noticed that Jaemin kept staring at Jihyun, so he was very suspicious. Dukba also received a message from his father announcing the case. It has been transferred to the prosecutor's office. Jaemin was going to talk to the three, but at this time, there was a girl in another class who came to invite her father to go eat together. The guy contacted me next time because I was busy. All the friends were in a hurry because they had just gotten a very famous girl in the school to eat. The friend who sat with me immediately asked me and him who gave birth more. Duba said that they were both born, but it seemed that the other girl had a smaller face. Min Jae's friend was seriously hurt because she was molded 3 times for having a big face. Dukba went to the station when the policeman said, "Suddenly, the prosecution called and urged us to quickly handle this case, since the testimony of the attacker and the victim is very different. So a confrontation between the 3 parties will be conducted." Dukba also received a summons to the prosecutor's office the following Monday. The policeman was surprised that it was promoted so quickly. It was as if someone had deliberately influenced this. The prosecutor's father held the summons cancellation paper that his son had submitted in his hand. And it was very frustrating that the school accepted it again without calling me to confirm. At this time, the Bao carriage also happened to enter. The father asked the carriage why he took the signature from his mother. Dad has already asked to hand over Song Jahyun's violent case to the prosecutor's office. Dad will do everything to send him to a reformatory camp, so that he can't set foot in this school anymore, and it will forever not have a bad influence on my son. The Bao car immediately confirmed that he was not bullying anyone. The father threatened that if the carriage came out to testify for Jahyun, he would not be his child anymore. The Bao cart comes to meet and asks Jae-ming, "Why have you been trying to get close to Jahyun these days? Are you going to shake hands with those guys to sue Jahyun?" Jae-ming immediately says that there is no, and just want to graduate quietly. The Bao car immediately said, "You and they were in the videos bullying Jahyun. Do everything you can to get those videos back and reveal them at the investigation." When Jae-ming said that if I did that, I would have to go to a reformatory camp. Then the carriage immediately said that my father had already handed over this case to the prosecution. If I can't prove that Jahyun is a victim, then he will be sent to the detention camp immediately. Don't forget that Jahyun forgave him when he kidnapped his mother. Jahyun didn't denounce and protect him, so that he can go to school and graduate properly. You should think carefully about helping Jahyun. Jae-ming was extremely confused by the words of the Bao carriage. Then he met the silver-haired man. This guy keeps asking Jae-ming not to take Jahyun's side anymore. If not, we will be destroyed. And he was the one who bore the most sin because he was the leader. But Jae-ming said I wouldn't do anything and walked away. Jae-ming asks his father to go out to talk and tells him, "I won't do anything," but the father is still at peace. Jae-ming is frustrated when his friend doesn't ask him to testify. Isn't this the only way for him not to be sent to a reformatory camp? But the father also doesn't want Jae-ming to go to a reformatory camp. So Jae-ming immediately knelt down and said, "My father opened a savings account to pay my college tuition. Although I may not be able to go to university, I must at least graduate from high school. I'm sorry, but I'm scared." The father also promised that he would not go to the reformatory. He apologized to the wrong people. When Song Ji-hyun really comes back, you should get down on your knees and apologize to him. Afterwards, he treats Jae-min to a meal cooked by his own hands because the maid is taking care of her mother at the hospital. Casting Ba also asks Jae-min not to bully others anymore. From now on, try to study well to graduate and live like a normal person. Jae-min also keeps putting food in his mouth because he is hungry. Jae-min goes home and keeps thinking about the words that his friend Ji-hyun said and doesn't pay any attention to his sister who is coming home. After that, Jaemin bursts into tears when he remembers his friend's instructions. When his father goes to the hospital to visit his mother, the boy reads Ji-hyun's diary again and sees the words, "Will anyone be willing to be friends with me?" At this time, the palace car also called to encourage his friend in the interrogation with the prosecution tomorrow. I told him that I had set a few goals to accomplish before Ji-hyun returned. Maybe I won't be able to do it all, but at least I've made friends with one person, so I'm happy. The carriage also said that I would stand as a witness, because I've seen Ji-hyun bullied countless times. Thanks to you, I am no longer so afraid of my father's threats, so I have to repay him. The next morning, Jaemin wakes up and decides to clean up the house and cook a breakfast for his sister. Then leave a note with the content of "Sleep at home from now on, sister." Jaemin called his classmate and told me to go and report it. When he woke up, he saw Ji-hyun's mother sitting in front of him with a rather sober appearance. After a while of chatting, the mother also revealed that her father and son have been practicing sports since the secretary appeared. I also bought a dormitory for her, but my father must be tired of her now. Duk Tri asked for the address of the middle house and phoned two of his old confidants to come and arrest the other secretary. The two went to knock on the door of the apartment and used force to order the security guard to open the door immediately. Duk Ba and the Baokar went straight to the prosecutor's office. The two went into the room, and the four barehead men were already here with a triumphant attitude. At this time, Casting Ba received a phone call from Rong Su notifying maybe it's like the secretary has just moved out. The chief prosecutor appeared and dragged his son by the hand outside. At this time, the goat also appeared and stood on the side of the four bareheads. Du Balien asked him what he came here for. I said I wouldn't mention your name. Deming immediately said that I was betraying you. Deming snatched the backpack behind the silver-haired man's back and threw it to his father and read the password of the iPad inside. The two began to fight with these bareheads. The chief prosecutor immediately called the security guard. But he saw that his son had defeated one of them, so he immediately dragged his son out. Dukba also found a list of videos proving that he had been bullied by them. When the prosecutors entered, Duba immediately showed them these videos. Deming also admitted that he and the others had bullied and robbed him of his money. The fact that he jumped off the bridge was also because of him. Dukba asked Deming loudly why he didn't listen to me. I gave you a chance to use my dad's savings. Deming said that I was the only one who knew that he had a tablet in his pocket and was also the only one who could exonerate him. These guys need to receive proper punishment to reduce the debauchery. I did this to make myself feel less pitiful. I didn't deserve the opportunity you gave me. After that, the goats and these guys were also escorted into the car. Dukba said to the silver-haired man, I gave you a chance to stop this, but you kept insisting. But he immediately spat out a field of saliva. They got into the car and hoped that the secretary would hire a lawyer for them. One of them said I had called, but she said it had nothing to do with it. The silver-haired man promised to his heart that if he could go out, he would definitely kill Song Ji-ai. Deming immediately warned that if you touch him, you will die first. At this time, when the father had left, the goat saw the image of his old friend. So I immediately burst into tears and said I'm sorry, and the car drove away. The Baokar asked my father to apologize more because he turned him into a school bully. But the father said that it was more important for him to be like this. I will transfer you to a private school to make friends with nice people. The strong Baokar in the form of declaring that you will not change schools. If you keep doing that, you will drop out of school. I will learn on my own and continue to be friends with more GI. Even if you kick me out of the house, I won't abandon you. You will become an exemplary and honest adult. To do that, you have to go to class now. And the night before, when he was sleeping in the hospital, then the big man Zhao Sung came to meet and introduce him to his mother. I am the brother of Kim Dukba, the father of the river. But my mother told me I didn't know who the needle cast my father was. But the big man Zhao Sung said that she was denying it. For fear that the secret that he is not the son of President B will be revealed, her son protected her from the corners. Now he's even accused of being a school bully and has to run to and from the police station. But he still came here to take care of you. I hope she wakes up again to protect her son. Don't let him have to deal with things like that alone. After that, the big man also left and told his two juniors. The other boy was 19 years old. But 19 years ago, the father was still in the province and did not go back and forth with any girl. If she's an actress, why can't I remember anything? Dukba went to the hospital and saw his old grandmaster. The boy ran to call the chairman, then bowed to the ground to thank him. After that, he asked about the incision of the big man. He was injured in the head and shoulder from the fight in the last Gangung. Therefore, you should never underestimate your health. He looked like a dry skeleton when he asked me if I and my uncle had ever met. Then my father told me that I had heard my father tell me about him. Why did you leave? If you don't have it, it's no longer a gimmick. The big man felt that this guy's way of talking was too similar to his father's father. So I immediately asked the guy to sit next to me to talk privately. The big man said that after lying in bed after the surgery, he suddenly felt afraid of fighting. That is also the reason why he once wanted to hand over the summons tape to the third caste. If the 3 castings were still alive, the martial arts would not have turned out to be what it is now. When he heard the news that his father had a son, he didn't believe it. When I met him, I felt even more absurd. There is no similarity in appearance between me and my father. He believed in religion and was also very superstitious. But I still can't believe this. The boy felt that the chairman seemed to know that he was the third casting needle, so he immediately said, "Whoever is alive must continue to live. I'm still alive to protect this kid." The big man immediately asked about the boy's academic achievements, casting 3 treasures to be level 4 and level 5. The big man immediately said that it was because he was not smart, and he molded me into my heart and said, "For me, casting my father is always number 1. The big man went out and said to his 2 juniors, "Felt like I had lost my brother twice. The 2 of you stay here to help cast your father." My mother confirmed to the maid that I was well and wanted to be discharged from the hospital immediately. Dukba ran to ask the doctor. Then the doctor said she was much better. Now the patient can go home and can come here regularly to help overcome the addiction. When the maid was afraid that the lady would come to the house to find a story, then I told you that I would find a way to deal with her. When the mother and daughter were waiting for the car, they cast 3 treasures. It's time for me to separate from President B to find a good man. But the mother said that she had been at home for 20 years, so how did she know how to make money? I'm about to go to college again. Casting the 3 jewels is why we have to endure the Arlemic Palace. Will President B appear at the graduation ceremony and at my child's wedding in the future? A person who is not by our side and calms us down right away, so is it family? I believe my mother can decide her life. Suddenly casting 3 saw a billboard of a construction exhibition in Berlin. The construction company's okay on a taxi. So I asked the mother to go home first, and I went to see Chairman B for a while, casting my father in a taxi and asking me to drive him to the airport. After that, he called to inform the 2 uncles. President B is flying home from Germany and will land at the airport in an hour. Please come and help me catch the bow lady. She went to class and informed her 3 friends. Ji then was investigated by the prosecution for school violence. But thanks to Yi Min's help, he became a victim. The attackers have been arrested. Xie Gong immediately remembered Jia's stronger words at the prosecutor's office. So I immediately asked my friends about the fact that a person has 2 completely different personalities. But that person shows a completely different personality at all times and everywhere. Not going back to the old personality. A friend immediately concluded that it was a phenomenon of being occupied. It's like another soul enters and lives in that body. At this time, the secretary of the Li Palace was also a slave. Following in the footsteps of Chairman B and other directors, the secretary immediately called the lawyer and learned that a child who has testified should rather be released because he is a victim.
Donc calme ni mort.
When she saw the younger student appear in front of President B, she immediately ran away. Casting 3 strong forms suggested that the chairman go to a Chinese restaurant for a little private conversation. The chairman now realizes that this is his illegitimate son. The secretary ran out when she was blocked by 3 heads. After that, he was dragged to the front of Chairman B. The chairman also said that the last time I saw him was 5 years ago. But at that time, he looked at me like a skinny beggar. Over the years, I have let Lai Mai Kung take care of my mother and children. Dukba immediately asked him if he knew what kind of person Li Mai Gong was. She had drugged my mother and turned her into an attacker in the school violence. She also ordered my mother to be kidnapped to take the place of his legal wife when she died. Lai Mai Bao immediately explained and affirmed that Ji then was just being placed. It was I who cleaned up the mess that his mother and son had caused for 10 years. The chairman said that if what you do is exposed, it will seriously affect my group. She immediately knelt on the ground. But casting 3 suggested that the secretary change her position, so she also knelt down awkwardly to apologize to the student. Duba immediately poured a cup of tea on the secretary's head and said, "Oh, just miss your hand. Don't get any closer to Song Jae's mother and daughter from now on. Otherwise, I'll bury you in cement." The chairman was very excited when his son did this to retaliate against Lee Mi-gong. "I will recognize you as my son." But casting 3 explains how to be called a true father. He abandoned Ji Moore when he didn't need him anymore, so he couldn't call himself father. Duk Ba went out and thanked his 2 uncles for helping him. "You guys go first, I want to take a walk." The coin immediately remembered the same words of the father. And the fact that the chairman called him casting 3, with the secrets that only the father of the coin knows, the coin is extremely skeptical. Duba immediately called Jis mother and said, "President B said that he would recognize me as his son, but I refused." The mother at this time looked at the beautiful sky and wanted to act again. Dukpa also spoke up to encourage and said that he would help his mother. When he was already buttoning the phone, Casting Ba began to talk to the soul of the student Songji. And when the car carrying Yimin left just now, Duba also saw Ji Moore. Ji then had also quietly sat next to his mother outside the hospital before. Casting 3 now tells me I've dealt with the bullies and made new friends. I also punished Lee Mi-kung and protected his mother. Only entering university has not been completed in time. When you come back, live a full life, don't let my efforts go to waste. When will he be back? Ji then said in a week. Dukba said that he would spend the remaining week arranging everything in order and handing them over to him properly. You did it to go to college. At this time, Dukba received Dongs's phone but did not pick up. Ji then immediately asked him if he didn't tell the palace everything. My father told me that I didn't want him to know my true identity. I don't want him to be sad because of an old man. When he came to class, his 3 female friends also ran to inquire and asked the boy to apologize to Minzy for saying that his face was as big as a table. Dukba immediately told me when his face was big. I just said that the other girl's face was smaller than Minzy's. But I prefer someone with clear lines like Minzy. Minzy also smiles and forgives her cute friend. Xe Gong went into the classroom and asked Casting Ba to go out to talk a little privately. Xie Gong asked if he had been taken away, right? His soul had entered Song Jae's body more, right? My father immediately told me that I didn't know what had happened to me anymore. I just live like that. After that, find a way to avoid the palace. De Huan and his friends look at the expulsion notice board of the other group of barehead students. Then Duba appeared and asked Goat Huan, "Didn't you apologize to me?" De Huan also apologized for spreading rumors that he bullied others, and told the father of the palace about the 2 of them playing together. Duba suggested that the Goat Huan delete the father's number and apologize to him. Treat your concubine like a friend and don't treat him as a servant. De Huan also asked softly, "Can we be friends?" But Duba told him and Ji then not to play together. Dukba also fulfilled his promise to go out to eat with a famous girl in school. This friend also strongly expressed that she liked him. But the father told him that he could wait for me for 2 days. He'll reply to you in 2 days. Casting 3 suggestions for Jis Soul to make your own decision on whether or not to have a girlfriend. Because tomorrow you will go back to your life. Ji Hao immediately suggested that he stay next to the palace. He must be waiting for you to tell the truth. Duba immediately told him that it would be better if he didn't know. Now the uncle received Jiang Su's phone again and still didn't pick up the phone. The palace informed the father that the child was working part-time. I want to be financially independent and still pass the university entrance exam. Only then will he be recognized by his father. The father said that if the child is still playing with the child, there is nothing. Then I will never recognize you as an adult. Xe Kung affirmed that Ji is more than my best friend, so I don't arbitrarily judge my friend anymore. The goat went to work to find a companion and apologized. Ji then has asked me to treat him like a friend and not take advantage of him anymore. I really want to be friends with you, but it seems to be better than changing schools. Xe Gong immediately ran to meet his friend Ji and asked, "Ji then is about to come back? Do you know how worried I was about you?" The boy immediately invited the palace to come with him to a place. He led the bow to his own resting place and said, "This is me because I tried to save Song Jae's life. That's also when my soul merged into his body. But because you were so desperate, I decided to tell you the truth." When he turned around, he saw Ji then standing behind. So the palace immediately burst into tears. Duba also realized that in addition to Jimin, the palace can also see Jis Soul. At this time, Ji Yu also hugged the bow in his heart. When he stepped outside, he saw that Jiangsu was also coming to this place. Now Jiangsu sobbed again. Zhang Chan walked over and blamed his beloved nephew for not answering his phone. It is clear that we have the same background frequencies that have just reunited here. Dukba immediately invited the two to go make some soju. Xe Gong admitted his own fault for making Ji then jump off the bridge. And that evening Ji then came to see him and asked him to help him. I will report it to the school violence committee and the police as well. I will let Jimin and his accomplices face the law. Can you tell your father to help me? But the palace guard refused. Therefore, Ji then threatened to reveal the true nature of the palace to everyone. He pretended to be happy with everyone, but it was just a lie. He sees Jae-hun with a broken ankle in Jimin's room. But he ignored him. He only knows how to look down on and hate people. Ji-tan continued to ask the palace to tell his father to help him. But he said, when I accused him of being violent to him, then he denied it. It's all because of you. Xiegong ran out and tried to hold on to Ji more, but Ji-tan's face changed. Now, the palace also told Ji more. I used to be very angry when you didn't fight back against those bullies. But I found myself in him because I can't fight my father either. He was also the first to see his true self. So I decided not to help him. Let me apologize. Ji then also apologized for treating him a little too much that night. It wasn't his fault. It would be better if I could stand up and fight back like the three Golden Brothers did. Don't let your father hurt you anymore. From now on, we will be friends. Xiegong also shook hands with Ji more than once. Now that Dongkan has sunk into a drunkenness. Then Dongsu blames me for not telling me early that you are the third casting needle. Casting 3 words because I don't want a second group of monks when my soul leaves. Doing so will give you a lot of patience. Thank you for being loyal to me over the years. Dongsu also said, I was very happy to be my junior. No matter what body you are in, I will never forget you. The palace servants met to see off the 3 and said, he is the person I admire the most of the big brothers I have ever met. A close friend I've always wanted. My father told me that I was also very happy to be his friend. When you grow up, you will be much better than me. So don't doubt yourself anymore. Your parents must be waiting for you at home. Cast the 3 inside to sit next to the G. Then a flash of light also flashed. When the 2 approached the stream of light to return everything to the right place. Ji, you didn't want to go back to his old body. When I jumped off the bridge, I dropped everything.
Im Tieret.
Thanks to him, I could see the smile on my face. If there is someone happy in my body, it makes me happy. When casting the father, he pulled his arm back, and the boy immediately pushed his arm away, and happily moved towards the light that binds you. Sometime later, when she was bouncing alone in college, then the third casting friend also appeared next to him. When it was discovered that the triple casting was a study, then the palace immediately asked the third casting to go to the lecture hall immediately. If you go to college, you're lazy to study. Ji should have stayed here, not him. After that, cast 3 invitations to go see the collective eyes to enjoy youth. But the palace was busy studying for the exam. Dukba immediately invited Xiegong to go to the cafe that Jiangchun had just opened to study. After that, the 2 also put their arms around and walked happily together.